Hello, and welcome to the Party Dungeon. This is Dungeon Party. It's very great that you've decided to embark on this awesome journey that we call Dungeon Party, and we are so excited to have you. Before we start, though, I'd like to draw attention to the fact that the first 3 episodes of Dungeon Party are shot and audio recorded just so poorly. We had literally just gotten the equipment required to make the show, and we had no idea how to use it. Luckily for us, our good friend Tommy showed up in episode 4, fixed all of our problems, and from that point on, the show is actually, watchable. So this video is here as sort of a recap of what happens in episodes 1, 2, and 3. They're still up, they still exist if you want to watch them. There's a lot of fun, juicy tidbits and really interesting RP that you can find in there that you won't be able to find in this sort of breakdown of what happened. But if you want to jump into the story and not sort of deal with technical difficulties, then this video is for you. So, let us begin at the very beginning. Our story begins, as many great stories do, in a tavern. This tavern is called the Shimmering Scale. Now, the Shimmering Scale exists in a town called Worthank, which is the city of commerce for the country of Caerleone. In this tavern, there are a large, eclectic group of people, but the ones that we are most focused on are our party. We have Millie, the half-elven rogue, Wallace, the Water Genasi druid, Tapper, the high-elven drunken fist monk, Kira, the human cavalier, who also happens to be a lion knight, one of the town guards of Worthank, and Oliver, the half-elven wizard, who's definitely seen cleaner days. Another person that should be noted is a small halfling man with a large bag named Brandon Toothsnatcher, who makes acquaintance with the party and even gets into a bar fight with them. They're all starting to meet each other and have a great time in the bar, when all of a sudden the floor of the tavern gives way and the party drops below. They all awake in a cavern below where the tavern used to be. And before they have a chance to gain their bearings, they are attacked by several earth elementals. The battle is interesting as they all start to get to know what each other are able to do, what they're capable of, who's good at what, who's bad at other things. Brandon hides most of the time, being more of a merchant and not a fighter. The battle goes fairly well, even though earth elementals have a damage reduction to most of the damage that these people can do. Without too much trouble, but taking some serious damage, they manage to fend off the earth elementals. As the Lion Knights, led by Captain Sheena, a lioness tabaxi, and the captain of the guard and Kira's mentor, start to clear up the rubble and make sure people are okay, several of the party members venture further into this newly created cave until they come into contact with a Galeb door.
I was hoping you wouldn't find me, so I wouldn't have to do you any harm.
What?
But the Master's rules are absolute, I suppose.
No.
I'll give you a chance to leave now.
Okay.
What's your name?
See ya. Oh, we go.
What's your name?
We're out.
This creature claims to have caused the earthquake at the behest of his master, a fey earthen spirit who has been asleep for quite a long time due to a magical spell and is waking up very angry. And because of his master's anger, the Galeb door reluctantly decides to kill the party. Luckily, Millie is a master of disguise and deception and manages to trick the Galeb door into thinking they were a test sent by his master, and they all make it out with their lives. From there, the group, now contracted by the Lion Knights to find out why the city is under siege by earth elementals, heads in 2 different directions. Brandon and Kira head back to the barracks, while Oliver, Wallace, Millie, and Tapper head in the direction of the Lamp's Light, which is a speakeasy run by the Lamplight Manifest, one of the 3 large groups of organized crime in the city. On the way back to the barracks, Kira and Brandon run into Averith Raelsinian, a mousy, bespectacled, half-elven friend of Brandon's, who also happens to be a very powerful wizard and a member of the Extant Sortolidium, the illustrious mage guild that rules over pretty much the entire world. Averith teleports them back to his wizard's tower, makes them tea, and helps them determine that the thing probably attacking the city is a Koret, an earthen fae with magical hair. He also describes why the Korid may be angry, hearkening it back to the Iluith, the progenitors of the area, putting all of the Fae to sleep for fear of their power, and slowly but surely these Fae are now waking up, now that the Iluith mysteriously have disappeared. Meanwhile, at the lamp's light, the rest of the party have a run-in with a strange gentleman who wears a blue overcoat and a blue tricorner hat. He's a human man with a shaved head. He also seems to be waiting for an entrance. He wears a dark blue overcoat. It seems built for function, definitely some armor built into it. And he has a similarly colored tricorner hat with 2 feathers in it, one yellow and one red. He holds it in his hand. He looks at you all and pulls a dark red scarf he wears around his neck. It had been covering his nose. He pulls it down to reveal a very hard jawline with a scar running from his nose across his mouth to his chin. Everybody make a perception check. What'd you get?
20.
18.
13.
12.
Cool. So the two of you, as he reaches up, you can see his sleeve, it's this hand. His sleeve falls down a little bit. You notice what look like tattoos running up his arm. And he notices you see this, and he immediately pulls it down and pulls his sleeve down. He just sort of stares at you all, lands on you, narrows his eyes, and then turns towards the door. He gives off a strange vibe, but mostly leaves the party alone, so they don't think very much of it. Upon going in, Tapper has an interesting alcoholic experience. Awesome. You've been here before, but for the rest of you, it's 1 gold for an endless supply of wolf tooth ale. It's not great, but there's a lot of it. 50 for Stormbringer's Brew, 30 silver for Lion's Mane vodka for shots of it. If you got a cocktail you like to make, I can see what I can do. And special tonight, just in, 850 gold for a shot of burnt birch ale. Gone. Yes?
How much burnt birch ale did you say?
She reaches under the bar and she pulls out like a bottle of it. There's maybe this much left in it. We don't have much, but we took it off of one of the drunkards who went to one of the Red Wheel brothels earlier. He's been holding on to it for years and years, and now it's ours. 850 gold for a shot. You'll not find a finer ale in the entirety of Assyria.
I know. It's a little out of my price range, though.
Yeah. And the party is approached by Irina Dusk, the leader of the Lamplight Manifest, and also, apparently, an ex-lover of Oliver's. Irina warns Oliver that Rolf the Preener, another one of the major crime bosses in the city, has it out for him, and to avoid any interactions with him at all possible. She also flirts with him in very uncomfortable ways. They don't learn much during the night, and it's more of an awkward experience than anything, but at the end of the night they do have another strange encounter with the man in the blue coat, as well as finding out that Millie isn't exactly who she says she is. She just so happens to be the incognito daughter of the most famous adventurers in the multiverse. The next day, the party heads towards the rich side of town, but before they can get there, they are attacked by gargoyles. After dispatching the gargoyles, they make their way to the archives of Worthhank. They're only able to get in because of Brandon Toothsnatcher's silver tongue, which is a magic item he owns. And once inside, they run into yet another one of Oliver's exes. The figure straightens up and turns around. It is a red tiefling woman with long brown hair that is held back behind her horns that stick straight up. She has glasses sort of set askew on her nose, connected with those little like librarian beads like back around. Mm-hmm. And she's dressed in a very like formal librarian gown robe situation. And she turns around and makes eye contact with you and says, "Oliver,
I didn't know you started working here.
I didn't know you still lived in Worthhank." After scouring the depths of the library to some success for some and a lot of failure for others, they eventually find out that there are 2 potential places that the Kored could be hiding. But in order to find the one that is the right one, they must risk an encounter with Rolf the Preener. The meeting everything goes about as well as you could expect. The other thing I need is a finger of your choice.
What? No.
What about give him the finger?
I'm not going to give him my finger.
Let's just give him your finger.
It would look kind of cool, Look, I'm not going to give you my finger. So you're going to have to come up with something else. And it can't be a body part, Rolf.
I don't think I'd want any of your body parts.
You just asked for one.
No. I'm just trying to handicap you. I need to prove a point here. If I just let people go on fucking me and I don't do anything about it, then what do I look like?
Pinky.
Noble Folly's never
Take
got.
the pinky. Jesus
It
Christ.
was easy, and he takes his shears and snips it off. Like it takes a minute. He like, and
I go.
Oliver passes out, probably.
yeah, you're gone. You're gone. Luckily, that seems to sate his bloodlust, and other than that, the only thing he asks for in exchange for the information the party needs is for them to deliver a letter to the city of Hira and to the Noble Folly, an international crime syndicate that he would like to join. Things seem to be looking up for the party, with the exception of Oliver's mangled hand, but then they realize that they're being watched. They look around and discover that the man in the blue trench coat has been following them for quite some time. And as they try to catch him, all that's left is an owl, which gives them a strange look and flies away. Now, having the information they need and the tools they need to take down the Korra, they decide to go bowling. And that's where episode 3 ends. So, you can pick right up with episode 4, The Medium Lebowski, and jump right back into the story of Dungeon Party. And if you're not a huge fan of watching people pretend to bowl, the bowling in episode 4 ends at about the 28-minute mark. So if you pick up from there, that's where the plot begins. Though I will say, my fantasy bowling rules are pretty good. They're not. They're very bad. Anyway, thank you so much for jumping on this magnificent journey. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on... Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this magnificent Dungeons & Dragons adventure. If you like what you've seen so far, hopefully you continue to watch, and maybe even tell your friends about it. Our community is small but loving, so we'd like to grow it, make it even bigger, and accept really anyone who wants to come in. So, this is your first step. Now jump out on that road that is Dungeon Party. See you in the next episode.